When you're working on a project, sometimes do you feel like you're trying to get a square peg into a round hole and you're just driving yourself crazy because it's not working?
I finally realized that I can't do it! I can't do it, Mr. Krabs!
If you resonate with that, you might need a new project management style. Greetings, good day, and welcome. I'm Deanna, your favorite project manager, and today we're going to talk about what project management style is right for you. On today's agenda, we're going to first dive into the different project management styles. Then we're going to break down how you can choose the best one that's suited for you and your team. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how maybe a combined style might be right for you. And then as always, we're going to wrap things up with some final thoughts and tips. It is so vital for you to have a defined project management style. The right style is key to managing your team, making sure you're meeting all deadlines, and keeping your stakeholders happy. So whether you are new to project management or you're looking to maybe refine your approach, this is for you. Let's jump right in and start understanding the different project management styles. As you may or may not know, there are 3 distinct styles of project management: Agile, Waterfall, and Scrum. Agile is an iterative approach to project management and software development that helps teams deliver value to their customers faster and with fewer headaches. Instead of betting everything on a big bang launch, an Agile team delivers work in small but consumable increments. The Agile method relies heavily on constant feedback and small, quick development cycles called iterations or sprints. This method of project management is highly collaborative and is ideal for projects with changing requirements. For example, in grants and development, the Agile method would be really useful because it can help where priorities will change based on funding or external factors. And the Agile method will help my team pivot quickly so we don't lose momentum with the project. Typically, the Agile method is best for projects that have evolving scopes and uncertain timelines, and flexibility is key to get these projects done. If you're trying to be flexible, then you need to be agile.
Well, I think you need to be more flexible.
Second, the waterfall method is a linear project management methodology where each phase of a project must be completed before moving on to the next. It is a sequential process that moves steadily downwards through phases like conception, initiation, analysis, design, construction, testing, and maintenance. If you are utilizing the waterfall method, that means you want something that is highly structured and you are relying heavily on comprehensive upfront planning. And in the waterfall method, once a phase is complete, you're not going back to it. It is rare that if you finished phase 1 and now you have moved on to phase 2 that you will have anything to do with phase 1 ever again. If you have fixed requirements and deadlines, if all the planning is detailed and upfront and you know as much as possible of what's going to go down throughout the course of this project, then waterfall is your guy. Last, number 3, Scrum is a framework within Agile used for developing, delivering, and sustaining complex products. Scrum emphasizes collaboration, functioning in small teams, and breaking down work into small tasks that can be completed in time-box iterations known as, once again, sprints. When utilizing the Scrum method, typically it uses defined roles like Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Development Team, and also utilizing something called ceremonies, which include daily stand-ups and sprint reviews, just to ensure all accountability and transparency about the project. If you find yourself working on fast-paced projects with regular feedback loops and you are maintaining constant communication, then Scrum sounds like the appropriate method for you. So now that we talked about and defined the 3 different styles, how do you go about choosing the right style for you? Let's talk about it. First and foremost, number 1, I want you to to know your team. Your team's work style and their preferences can really make or break a project. And if you don't have that situated, I'm so sorry in advance. Your project management style has to align with your team. When you are thinking about what method to utilize for your team, I want you to ask yourself this question. Is your team adaptable and able to pivot quickly when changes come up? Or does your team thrive in a much more structured environment with clear roles and expectations? If you are on a team that enjoys collaboration and frequent check-ins and feedback and all that stuff, then Agile or Scrum is probably going to be your best friend. These two methods rely on self-organizing teams that adjust plans as they go, are great for teams that really value flexibility and real-time problem solving. In other words, if you are on a team that is trying to just boom, bam, bow, handle the situation right then and there, if there's an issue, they trying to squash it right now, and they are willing to make any adjustments and stuff right here, right now, and can pivot accordingly expeditiously, then you should look at Agile or Scrum. However, if that sounds a little scary to your team and they would prefer to work with a clear roadmap and defined steps, then I'm gonna need you to look at the waterfall method. If you know your team works best if they can follow a predictable and structured plan that is not deviating too much, not pivoting too much, and you know that the project will be derailed if any last minute shifts or focus were to happen, then I want you to make waterfall your best friend starting now. After you know your team, I then want you to know your stakeholders. The nature and involvement of your stakeholders is going to play a key role in deciding which project management style you should use. Ask yourself, how engaged in the process are my stakeholders? Are they very hands-on and collaborative, or do they prefer a much more hands-off approach? If you have stakeholders that are hands-on, then you should utilize the Agile method. Within the Agile project management style, stakeholders are frequently engaged through reviews, feedback sessions, and iterative improvements. And with all of this, it just ensures that the project is continuously aligned with the evolving needs of your stakeholders. However, on the flip side, if you have stakeholders that are a little bit more hands-off and they typically just check in at milestones and like just those huge points in the project, then waterfall is going to be the method for you. With the waterfall method, it allows you to define the scope up front, present clear progress reports, and deliver a final product or completed project according to a pre-agreed upon timeline between you and your stakeholder. And honestly, truly, having stakeholders that only want to check in, during the big moment or periodical updates and things like that, that's great. That's real great. So if that's how your stakeholders operate, then waterfall is for you. Next, and it might kind of be an obvious one, but know your project. The nature of the project itself that you are working on, meaning the scope, the complexity, and the level of clarity of said project, will heavily influence which management style that you choose. If you are looking at a project, you have fixed goals, you know exactly what it is that you are hitting and which each mark is to be hit and all of that jazz, again, waterfall is going to be your best friend. Waterfall means that you know your project has unchanging goals and that you know goal 2 can only happen if you check off goal 1. As I mentioned earlier, the waterfall method is heavily reliant on you finishing phase 1 before you can even think about phase 2. As you get through each phase, you are just completing and building upon it, and there's no need for you to make any revisions or go back.
I'm never going back, never going back. No, you can't make me.
For example, in grants and development, I am working with funders who typically have strict guidelines, they have reporting requirements, and they have all of that set up off rip before we even get a grant award. So if I was to utilize the waterfall method, it would ensure that I am checking off each of the requirements before moving on to the next one. And honestly, I usually can't move on to the next thing until that first thing is done. But if you are the opposite and your project is uncertain or your goals are ever changing, then you will be a Agile or Scrum Master. Where Waterfall is very locked in to its process, Agile or Scrum allows you to be much more flexible. For example, I know I like to think of the proposals that I work on as living, breathing documents. So though on Monday it might look one way, by Thursday it can be an entirely different thing. So with using an Agile or Scrum approach, I am able to adapt. I am able to shift. We are not locked into any set thing. I mean, obviously until the proposal has been submitted, but before that we are able to shift and change and evolve as much as we want, and I am able to do that because I put in place an Agile or Scrum method. Next, when thinking about what method would be best for you, I want you to make some budget and timeline considerations. If there is anything that has a huge input on how a project is ran and what methodology is applied to it, it's the damn budget and the damn timeline. If you are working on a tight budget or you already know your numbers and they are set in stone, guess which method I'm gonna say? Which one is structured and is set in stone and such? Which one? I'm gonna let you think about it.
Did you hear that? We got an assignment!
I hope you said the waterfall method. I hope you said that. When working with a tight budget, the waterfall method allows for precise planning, which can really help you avoid any unexpected costs or delays. But let's say your budget is a little bit more flexible. Let's say you don't really have a set stop date on the timeline. You're able to breathe, stretch, shake a little bit. If that's the case, if you're not going with waterfall, guess which one you going with? Guess. I'll give you time to guess this one too.
Oh no. You don't know.
I hope you said Agile. With the Agile approach, it can really offer you the adaptability you need to make incremental improvements or to even experiment with new ideas. With its level of flexibility and pivoting, the Agile method allows you to test out different approaches to your project and allows you to pivot based on what's working and what might not be working. The last thing that I want you to consider when you are picking a project management style is your organizational culture. Are you in a space where they are more conservative, that they are not really willing or able to take risks? Or are you in a space that is embracing change and innovation? If you are working at an organization or a company that is traditional or risk adverse, that means you want a style that is structured, that is predictable, and they know exactly what's going to happen in phase 1 all the way down to phase 10. And that style is which one, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, the waterfall style. For your team, the waterfall method will provide clear checkpoints and deliverables, which makes it much easier for everybody to stay aligned on the project. And honestly, they're just much more comfortable with the project's process because, again, the structure. But if your organization is much more open, that they are looking for innovation and new ideas and changes and updates and structures and such, then guess which method is right for you? It is Agile or Scrum. If you're in a space, like I said, that encourages innovation, if your team or if your company is willing to be innovative, that they are being experimental with their processes and structures, and they are seeking regular feedback, then Agile or Scrum is definitely going to be best for you guys. The Agile or Scrum method is definitely better for a culture of innovation because these methods allow for continuous improvement and changes. Alright, so boom, you know Agile, you know Waterfall, and you know Scrum, but maybe a little bit from this and a little bit from that sounds like the appropriate thing for you, and that's perfectly fine. You know why? Because there's something called hybrid approaches. I know you probably walked into this thinking that you would just be selecting one style of project management to follow. However, combining styles is not a bad idea at all. Honestly, truly, I definitely have a hybrid approach to my project management style. For me, I use, I would say 60% of the time, an agile approach and the other 40% a waterfall approach. For the agile approach, I am utilizing that for ever-changing priorities when it comes to fundraising. I am using that when I need to pivot and change some of the timelines so we can best tackle a project or put something new on our plate. However, when I am working with stakeholders, when I am doing reporting and such, I'm using the waterfall style. Those reports and those deadlines are fixed. They are not changing, they not shifting, ain't nothing I could do about them. So I am structuring my team's time, our calendar, and other projects and stuff to align with our stakeholder requirements. I would definitely not be successful only utilizing one of these management styles. Projects change, deadlines change, initiatives change, like everything is not going to take the same approach. So I analyze accordingly and apply the appropriate style accordingly. Now let's wrap things up with some final thoughts and tips. So, what project management style is right for you? And honestly, truly, it might change for every single project that you're working on. Whether you are working in grants and development, whether you're working with animals, whether you are in IT, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I doubt that you will pick one style and only ever practice that one style. Your team might not always be the same, your stakeholders won't always be the same, and the project needs won't always be the same. So you have to shift and adapt and plan accordingly. So is the life of a project manager. Whether you've chosen agile, waterfall, scrum, or a hybrid, the key is for you to make sure that you stay flexible and you adapt as needed. Ooh, would you look at that? You made it to the end of this video. Thanks for watching.
Sometimes goodbyes are a bitch.
T-shirt idea. Goodbye stink.
After watching this, what style do you think is best for you? Or what style have you already been putting into practice and that you particularly like? If you have any comments, leave it in the comments below. As I always say, a lot of my videos are inspired by you guys. So if anybody has any questions, any topics that you would like me to dive deeper into, please make sure to also leave that in the comments as well. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, bye y'all.